anything about it. Nice to see you, as always. Is the government the best regulator here, or should we trust the American consumer?
Well, let's remember, Leland, that the Facebook lobbying branch alone, they spend so much money that they feed into these politicians' pockets in terms of their campaigns, that many of these politicians are very much reliable on the big tech money, including Facebook, for them to get reelected. So it's going to be a big challenge. We know that there's been talk for a long time, and especially during President Trump's presidency, of trying to break up these social media companies, try to regulate these media companies, and Congress has failed time and time again. So while they keep having these hearings, and you have obviously this brave woman who came out as a whistleblower, and you've had Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey, all these big tech titans come in and have to respond to the harsh questions of the senators, they just get a slap in the hand, and they really don't get penalized for what we're seeing is, I find, a dangerous trend on what the impacts that social media is having on our children.
Okay, fair enough. And you as a parent, I think, is it to 5 kids?
That is right.
5.
Yeah.
Okay, so isn't it the job of a parent, though, to keep the bad influences of social media and sugary cereal and too much video games out of their kids' hands, or is it the government's job?
Well, absolutely. Look, as a parent, and my kids I have an 18-year-old now, so we always have these conversations about social media and the responsibility if one is on social media. I do believe that when you started hearing Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook talk about an Instagram for 13-year-olds and younger, that is incredibly disturbing. There's no need for that, and the parents have a responsibility to monitor what is happening in their children's lives, and to also say no to the children when it comes to them wanting to get on social media. I mean, it's very basic. But the reality is that I do think that the whistleblower did at least unravel what we're seeing in terms of how their social media platform is impacting the lives of young children, especially young girls, where they look at social media as a way that they have to deal with issues like body imaging, eating disorders. And these are issues we need to talk about. And I think that it is appropriate to bring this up at the federal level, and also for Facebook to take responsibility and make changes that help to produce a healthier and a better society. But what I'm more concerned about is the Chinese propaganda, the terrorist leaders that are able to use Facebook as a tool. And the fact is that that's where you have to have the government working with Facebook to make sure that there's the appropriate counterterrorism measures that we need and national security measures that we need to stop this type of propaganda.
There's a reasonable point. If you can ban President Trump, how come you can't ban terrorist propaganda? Somehow their algorithms have not figured that out, I guess. But Senator Cruz talked about this as it related to some of the issues you just discussed, specifically to how Facebook's algorithms and Instagram, which Facebook owns, deals with young women and the data and the pictures that show up. Take a listen.
Do you know of any context that would make those data anything other than horrifying and deeply disturbing?
Engagement-based ranking and these processes of amplification, they impact all users of Facebook.
And as Ted Cruz took a sip of coffee there, go ahead and take a look at Ted Cruz's Facebook page just moments after the hearing. He was asking for money and fundraising on Facebook while promoting how he was attacking Facebook.
We're all victims of the social media. And you bring up a great point, Leland. This goes back to my thing.
It is horrifying, but please give me money. Like, come on.
But here's the deal. Here's how it works. When it comes to social media and advertising buys, people, in order to get their message out, they use channels like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter,
hold on,
Instagram,
but just
to
real
be
quick.
able to promote their messages.
And by the way, we found examples of this on both sides of the aisle here. There are no clean players here. But wouldn't it be refreshing if just one member of Congress would say, I'm not going to use a social media platform that I trash to fundraise off of? It would be refreshing.
Look, I got to tell you, you know, here's the deal, and this is a big challenge that conservatives face, because everyone's always like, oh, just build a whole new platform that you can compete with Facebook. The problem is the way it's all set up, the lack of regulation, and, you know, Republicans are a party that don't like regulations, is the fact that Facebook, there is no way to compete with the Facebook. The way it's set up right now. They are they themselves are larger than many countries.
Yeah, they are the unregulated monopoly.
The amount of money they make.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, Mercedes, we got to move on.
Leland.
We got to move on. Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Thank you so much.
As always.
Great to see you too.
All right. What we heard today is just